Get ready for the Keeg. And we are live with another episode of the Keeg Talks. Today, the Keeg Talks, the new Transformers movie, Transformers Rise of the Beast. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera. And if you can see us live, you are watching us live on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. Or if you can hear our voices and not see our faces, you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera, and I've already said that. And you cannot see our guests if you're listening to the podcast, so let me introduce them to those of you who are just listening in and not watching us. First up, we got Neon Dawn Multimedia himself, Ryan Bleier. Ryan, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's going good, man. How are things?
Things are good as long as audio is good out there, and I think it is. Things are going pretty good. I'm glad to have you on the show.
Yeah, glad to be here, man.
Yeah.
Been looking forward to this for a minute now.
Yeah. I love the setup you have in the background.
Thank you. This is my editing bay. This is where I sit down and I edit all my pictures and my designs. I got Optimus Primal hanging out over here.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I got Optimus and Nemesis and Galvatron's down there in the background. You probably can't see him though. This is where I do all my editing.
We're gonna talk about the toys in just a little bit because Transformers relies on its toys.
Absolutely.
It's kind of a big staple of the franchise. But we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Let me introduce our second guest. We got Stefania Sassano herself. Stefania Sassano.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
It's been a while since I've had you on.
It has. Yeah. I honestly can't remember. There's so much that's been going on in between. I don't remember the last time I was on here.
I mean, honestly, it's a struggle to keep track of what I did last month and what month this is. It's June already. It's June 11th.
Yeah.
That's when we're recording.
I struggle keeping track of what I did yesterday, so
it's tough.
I hear that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Time has been weird. But let's just say the last 6 months that I haven't seen you in the last 6 months. What's been big with you? What's changed?
Last 6 months. So basically since January.
Yeah.
I went to Emerald City Comic Con. That was really fun.
Yeah. Okay.
I recently reached 100K on Instagram. So that's awesome.
Congrats.
Let's see. I've just been focusing a lot more on social media, trying to come up with content, really focusing on stuff that's coming out like Transformers, like all the Marvel stuff, and doing content based on that. While I still do cosplay stuff, I've kind of branched off doing other things. Because I want to focus on creating content for the MCU, creating content for Transformers, Star Wars, all that. And I've also started picking up streaming again. I haven't streamed in a while, but I played Jedi Survivor, and that was such a good game.
I don't have a PS5.
I'm also excited. Well, no, you could play on a PC.
Oh well, I don't play PC either. I keep my PC's bogged down as is doing live streams and editing and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm I don't want to throw another thing in and just it's hard enough to stay afloat. But I'll get a PS5 at some point, and I'll get Survivor, and I'll get Spider-Man 2. So.
Yeah, that's only on PS5, so it's not going to be out on PC for years. So.
Wait, you don't have a PS5?
My brother does, but he's going to be on it nonstop when the game comes out. So I don't know when I'm going to have time to do it. He's like, get your own PS5. I'm like, well, okay.
Is he the one with 100K on Instagram? How dare you?
Yeah, exactly.
How dare you?
Tell him, yeah.
You know? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool games coming out, and I don't even know if there's a Transformers game anymore.
There
used to
is.
be a bunch
There
of
is.
Are there?
Yeah. It didn't look like a Transformers game when it first showed, when I first watched it.
It was just a car. Yeah. It was just a car racing game, and they're just believe that they're Transformers in disguise. What is it? What's the new game?
A trailer came out on it. I forgot what it's called.
It's rebooted or something like that. It's
yes, something.
But it looks pretty intense. It looks pretty dark, kind of in line with the Cybertron games.
Yeah, that's it.
Co-op multiplayer, 1 to 4 player co-op multiplayer game announced in 2022. Okay, so yeah, interesting. When does it come out? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah.
Huh.
It's weird though, when the trailer dropped, I was watching it and I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. And then it kind of looked like Bumblebee in it.
Yeah.
And then it said Transformers at the end. I was like, I would have never guessed this was a Transformers game.
Yeah, it
Like
looks
based
just
off
like
like
a
the other games that have
space
come out.
sci-fi game kind of thing. Right?
Yeah.
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 Interesting.
It kind of looks like post-war, like it takes place after the war for Cybertron,
Yeah.
or like after the Great War.
Yeah.
And it looks like it takes place on Earth after the Great War, which is odd because that really has never been a focus of the franchise, but it does look pretty interesting. I will give it that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, they released a trailer back in December of 2022. I don't know why this is the first time I'm hearing about it, but maybe I block out Transformers games because I keep getting excited for Transformers games, and then I always hear once they get released that they're not good.
Yeah.
The War for Cybertron games are pretty rad. I used to play the ones on the DS, and those are always really cool. But I hear like all the other systems had really good War for Cybertron games as well. And story was always great. It was all like connected to the Aligned continuity, which touched on Transformers Prime later. And I mean, it was all really, really fun story-wise, and gameplay was cool too.
Are you a lore master, Ryan? Are you a Transformers?
I hesitate to call myself that, but I'm pretty in touch with a lot of the continuities, like Transformers Prime. I recently watched Beast Wars in preparation for Rise of the Beasts, and I've seen pretty much all of Transformers Armada. So that's like 1/3 of the Unicron trilogy. But other than that, no, I wouldn't say I'm a lore master. I like the lore. It's fun. I've always been a lore guy.
It sounds like you're a lore master, a humble lore master. You are Yoda on Dagobah being like, no, I'm not part of this anymore. It's like you still are. You're still part of it.
Yes, you are.
He prepped.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Yeah.
This movie, Rise of the Beast, is the 7th live action movie and 8th Transformers theatrical movie, because if you count the 80s Transformers movie, which, you know, that throws everything off, so let's not think about that one. But when it comes to the 7 live action movies, this is the 7th, but they've stopped numbering them a long time ago. Real quick, as we start off this episode, how would you rate Rise of the Beasts out of 10, and why? You don't have to go too far into depth, but, you know, let's hear some scores and some reasoning.
Okay, so it took me a few days, you know, to think about the movie a bit.
Yeah.
I eventually came up with an 8 out of 10 score. Because I felt that, you know, I was comparing it to the earlier Transformers movies, the Bayverse, and then Bumblebee as well. And I was thinking, this was a Transformers movie. If you think about it, you know, people were complaining, saying, you know, there's too much people, too much like military action, whatever, in the Bayverse. It kind of, you know, didn't feel like a Transformers movie. This one felt like it because there was little human interaction, yet just enough needed to create that bond between the Transformers and humans. And I felt it was more focused on the Transformers. Now, I gave it an 8, not a 10, because I felt like we could have utilized the Maximals more. I felt like we could have seen them more, because it is Rise of the Beasts. That's the title. And I know some people would say like, well, the action wasn't all that. I will say I was fine with the action, especially in the 3rd act. With this being a reboot of the franchise, I feel like if we start with like a perfect 10 out of 10 movie, the next movies are going to just like kind of fall back from that. I feel like we have to build up to that point.
I mean, what you just said right now, I don't know. Across or Into the Spider-Verse was a 10 out of 10 for me, and Across the Spider-Verse was a 10 out of 10 to me. And I'm expecting Beyond the Spider-Verse to also be a 10 out of 10. I'm expecting them all to get Oscars. So I don't know. But we'll see. I like the idea that like, yeah, we can't have Rise of the Beast be a perfect movie because it's only up from here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but also like
okay.
that's Spider-Man. Like
Yeah,
you're talking Spider-Verse, like everybody loves Spider-Man, so you
Yeah.
know like everyone's gonna love those movies.
Yeah.
But for Transformers, you know, it kind of died out because of the last two movies of the Bayverse. And then
Oof.
Yeah.
when Bumblebee came out, that was a good movie, right?
Yeah.
But it didn't
Mhm.
get as much hype as it should have.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
for this like starting off not being like a perfect Transformers movie, but like kind of like the best in the franchise, I think it's a good start for the franchise in the future.
Yeah.
And especially with the collaboration that, you know, comes to the end of the movie that we see.
Yeah. We'll talk
future.
about all that. Well, there's a lot to go into when it comes to
I got
this movie,
some
the
words
other
about
movies,
that.
everything.
Yeah.
Ryan, what would you grade this out of 10 and why?
I'm pretty much in line with Stefania. I gave it 7.5, closer to a 7 than a 7.5, for a lot of the same reasons that Stefania did. I really enjoyed all the action. The lesser focus on the human characters was huge for me. Like, I go to a Transformers movie because I like Transformers, you know, I want to see the Transformers get characterized, and I want to see their development with each other. And human characters have always been a huge part of Transformers. You know, there is no series without human interaction. Save for Beast Wars, and even that, they, you know, interact with prehistoric humans. So, you know, humans are an important part of the franchise, but I would like a greater focus on the Transformers, and this film did kind of deliver. The first act was pretty human heavy, but it wasn't too terrible. And what she was saying about the Maximals also rings true with me. I would have loved to have seen more of the Maximals. Like, screen time wise, we hardly got to see them. It was really awesome when they were on screen, but it would have been a lot cooler had they been on screen more. But other than that, Scourge, an incredible villain. Really enjoyed having him on screen. Incredible screen presence, super intimidating. And you know, the heroes can only be as good as their villain. You know, you have to have a good villain, or it's hard to root for your hero.
Yeah.
So overall, everything was super cool. But that lack of the Maximal presence hurt, and some of the human characters hurt a little bit as well.
Yeah.
But for the most part, great film. Loved it.
I loved Scourge. As soon as I saw him on screen, I was like, this is my favorite character already.
Yeah, same here. He was like a horror villain. It was amazing. He was like Michael Myers, but a Transformer.
Yeah, and like his mask was like perfect. Like,
yes,
it looked so for being like scary wise, it looked like perfect for that. And I believe the director said that they had an alternate beginning to that movie. Where it was like much darker and like scarier, but because like kids were going to see this movie, they didn't want to push it too far. But I thought it was like really cool.
Yeah,
it's like somewhere on the internet you can find it.
Yeah, that was the first thing that, like, I jumped in my seat a little bit. I was like, whoa, this is pretty brutal.
Yeah,
you know, starting off a Transformers film, like, whoa, this is where we're going with this. It was pretty intense.
Yeah,
I want like a director's cut of that though. Like, what I read, I was like, that sounds really, really awesome.
Yeah, I would like to see an extended cut with all like the because they definitely cut a lot of stuff from this film, but I'm sure we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. I feel like Transformers movies have become more and more brutal over time, though. Like, I feel like like they can't go back to like, oh, you know. That being said, I got thoughts that we will get into. So here's my thing about the Keeg, and the Keeg is a fairly positive show, but with you know, critiques and whatnot. I guess the basic philosophy that I have is that I'm not here to yuck anyone's yum. So
absolutely,
like, the fact that like people did enjoy it and people do want sequels, and like that's like an amazing thing, right? Like even for something like, let's just say Twilight, that doesn't resonate with me. I can make fun of Twilight, but understand that like a lot of people love Twilight still to this day, right?
Yeah.
This did not rank high for me, and normally I'm not a like a scathing critic or anything. My score is a 5.5, and only because I had to rank it with my other Transformers movies. I had to figure out where it was on my list, and then how it compared to like recent movies I've seen in the past like 2 months. Because only recently have I been hardcore attributing scores to movies and trying to figure out how I feel. Like, for example, Fast X came out and I gave it a 5. because I was like, I did not regret my time in theater. Like, I didn't think to myself, oh, it was a waste of time. I shouldn't have been there. 2 hours lost. I never thought like of that with Fast X, but I'm also like, would I watch it again? No, probably not for Fast X. So I knew it was better than that. But then I also thought of like, where does it rank with my other Transformers movies? So I give it a 5.5 for Rise of the Beast. And maybe that's because like my expectations with Beast Wars, maybe it was because of my expectations of Bumblebee, that I was like, oh, okay, it should be better. There were a lot of cool things in this movie, but I feel like, the lack of Maximals doing anything really hurt, especially setting that up. Second is that, like, I feel like it's about time that we get Transformers that have, it's not just personality, but like wants and desires.
Yeah.
And to like, you have to like make each Transformer different in that respect.
Yes.
You know? And I feel like it's been a long, I can't remember the last time we had a Transformer that had it like wants and desires of their own. Sure. Beat the bad guys. That's a want and desire. But like, having like more than that, right? Having a distinct personality, strengths, and flaws, which are only tend to be reserved for Transformers that are like the hero's sidekick. So Bumblebee, or in this one, Mirage, like has a distinct personality, but then everybody else kind of gets shuffled to the back. And so that's kind of my thing about my 5.5. It's that, like, do I regret my decision to see this movie? No. Am I looking forward to a sequel? Yes. But at the same time, I'm like, is this a movie to see in theaters? I mean, I saw it on IMAX. It was, like, cool to watch. Or people can wait to see it on Paramount Plus, I would assume. That's the platform. But yeah, that's my rough thing. Anthony Ramos, he was good, but he didn't stand out to me. And Elena, I thought was a wasted character. Dominique Fishback, I believe is her name. She's great, but I also think that like the writing, and I had to look into who was writing the movie, who was directing the movie, and I think I found some weak points.
I'm right there with you, man. I think there were 5 different writers, and you can tell. Like there were a couple. I brought my little notebook into the theater with me, and I was taking notes the entire time.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I was.
I've thought about doing that. And then I'm like, no, I can't. Like,
no. Oh, you can. Yes, you can. So I've got like tons of notes here, just like going through the film chronologically. And one of the things that I noticed was that a lot of the line delivery from the human characters and RC, like RC especially, I don't know what it was. Like a lot of it felt ADR'd, like it was put in post.
But that is what Transformers does. They're not there on set, you know?
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So it kind of, I know the Transformers aren't there on set, man. But it felt like a lot of them were added after they had fleshed out the script, you know, because I guess they didn't think the audience would get it. Which probably, I mean, a lot of it is pretty basic. It's a transwarp key, you know, stop the bad guys. But they still kind of felt the need to put those things in there because I don't know why writers do the things they do anymore. But Dominique Fishback's character was really cool. She was certainly compelling, like the museum situation. Her boss was kind of an unnecessary villain, you know, not really needed. And I did notice that a lot of Dominique Fishback's lines were like, it's kind of like in there, you know, like we needed her to say something, have her say something. And that was kind of to the detriment of the character. Like, are we getting into spoilers yet, or are we staying away from that?
No, I mean, we will get into spoilers. I mean, let's just talk about it. I mean, are we talking about the big spoiler at the end? We can keep that for later. Since I don't feel like that affects the plot of the movie until that like twist at the end. Unless you wanted to talk about it. Is that what you're saying? You wanted to talk about that part?
Yeah, I would like to talk about like a specific line of dialogue that I thought was really lame. So Scourge gets the MacGuffin, and Dominique Fishback goes, Scourge got the MacGuffin. And like the line delivery was so flat. Like it was like she was so exhausted by the end of the day. Like she couldn't muster the energy to like deliver the line. And it was kind of disappointing because like he's got the thing that's gonna make all the bad stuff happen. That's all you got. You know, it was like he got the bad thing. It was not it wasn't very compelling as as dialogue. And RC was the same. RC goes, Mirage, what have you done? And that's like how you would expect the line to be delivered.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, she delivered it like, yo, what's up? It was really disappointing. I was like, come on, a little gusto would be nice.
I think like it's easy to blame the actors, right? But when like what we've realized, I guess, over the course of however many Transformers movies and just like Hollywood doing a lot of CGI, is that sometimes it's not even the actor's fault. I'm sure they're not even getting the full context. Sometimes they're just like, hey, look, we got to redo some stuff. Just do this line as if blah, blah, blah. And then they do it. And then later they're like, oh, how do we make this work?
Yeah. You know? And that's kind of how it felt.
Yeah. I look at I try to look nowadays at the full creative team and trying to figure out like, where is the ball dropped versus also where does it succeed in? That sort of thing.
For sure.
Stefania, did you have?
I mean, like we have 5 writers on this film. Like that's kind of, I would say like a red flag in itself. I don't want to say a red flag, but like when you have so many writers on a film, you have so many opinions and so many changes as well. Cause like not everyone will agree on one thing. But I did hear that there were like fans of the Transformers that did work on this film, which, you know, is really nice. But I think if you just keep it to like 2 to 3 writers, I think you'll have a better focus on the story, better focus on what you want. But yeah, a lot of the lines did feel like, all right, like I guess that was like kind of good. I do love Mirage though. I thought Pete Davidson did really good as Mirage. And he felt like original. He felt like, you know, a different personality, like you were saying before, that really stood out. So yeah, I would say the writing kind of affects that. And also like, it's not always the actor's fault because I've done theater for so long and, you know, reading a script, I try and understand it. And in theater, it's different because you like everyone, you know, the story, you know, everything. But like when you're on set in a film, like you said, sometimes you don't get the full context of the story because they like to keep stuff hidden or, you know, afraid of leaks and all that. But like, you kind of got to tell them the whole story for them to really get into the character and understand.
Also in theater, it's chronological, right? Like you're not doing things out of order. And then they're not going to take one piece of your dialogue in your play and then like put it elsewhere.
Move it somewhere else.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like sometimes it works doing things out of order. Like in the recent Little Mermaid movie, the first scene that Ariel and Eric filmed was Kiss the Girl, which I think is an amazing way to start filming that movie, is to start off with the chemistry, build that connection, and then film the rest of the scene separate. And it worked in that movie. But like with this big CGI fest here, like, do they know what's happening? And all these writers on it, some of these writers could have been post like production writers, like rewriting stuff, moving and then getting like refilming or re-recording people's dialogue to fit like a new script. I don't know. Things worth stating is that I think the director is a capable director. Stephen Caple Jr. Directed Creed, or Creed 2, sorry. Ryan Coogler did Creed 1, Stephen Caple Jr. did Creed 2, Michael B. Jordan did Creed 3. But he also, he's directed TV, he's directed an episode of a Transformers cartoon, different things like that. So like, Creed 2 is the big thing that stands out to me. And then the main writer of this movie is Joby Harold. And he's mostly a producer, but he wrote part of Obi-Wan Kenobi, that show. Okay. Army of the Dead, the King Arthur movie. But then he produced like a bunch of other stuff. Oh, he wrote The Flash, I guess, the new one. So I don't know. But the rest of the writers have barely any credits.
Yeah, that'll
which
do
is
it.
weird to me.
Yeah.
Kind of stands out.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense if they want to start fresh with Transformers. They bring in fresh new writers, and maybe these writers were a fan of the cartoon growing up. So it makes sense for them to want to bring on new people. I think personally, especially with like franchises like Transformers and you have Marvel and DC, I feel like you should have fans of the franchise work on the show or write it at least, because they will know mostly what fans want because they are also a fan of the project. For example, the new X-Men 97 show, the whole team working on that show is all fans of the X-Men, which that's why I'm very excited for that. So I feel like that's why they did it.
You and me
I'm
both.
also biased. But also like, this Transformers movie, bring out new writers that are probably fans of the show. I think that was probably a way to bring a fresh new look into the franchise.
Yeah. That being said, I just want to shout out, I don't want to be a hater or anything. There were two brothers who were writers, who got credited as writers, John Hober and Eric Hober, both of which are known for writing Battleship, The Meg, My Spy, and Red.
So high fiction, like high fiction,
Yeah.
like primo literature stuff. I see. Yeah.
The Battleship is standing out the most to me because that was a horrible movie.
Is that the one that Rihanna was in?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw it like briefly. I didn't see the whole thing.
Yeah. So also, why
funny.
do we need two brothers to write that one movie? I don't know. But I want to know real quick, did you guys come in with like what were your expectations coming into this movie?
You already know this, Dimithri. I went in expecting nothing but greatness. We talked about it in Texas, and it was. I think you can tell I was pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
So coming out of it with like a 7.5 score, kind of a bummer. The great stuff was great, but the bad stuff really did weigh it down. I was really expecting more of the Maximal's presence. It's called Rise of the Beasts, I was expecting a lot of that. I was expecting maybe a Predacon tease in there somewhere. I mean, you see on Scourge's shoulder armor and on his front grille when he transforms, he has like Predacon and like Elite Guard symbols and like Wrecker symbols all over his grille.
Yeah,
that he's taken as trophies, and I was expecting maybe more of that. I think that there was going to be the addition of Predacons and even some Decepticons. Like I believe Transit was in an early cut of the film, but they cut him out completely because of time crunch reasons.
Yeah,
which is disappointing. And he was supposed to be just a regular Decepticon, if I recall correctly.
Would he die? Was that the kind of thing to show him dying?
So when Optimus Prime is walking through the row of buses, Transit was supposed to pop out. Optimus was supposed to kill him. I think Transit was supposed to warn him that, like, the Terracons are coming, ominous, spooky stuff. Ooh. Yeah. But that didn't exactly happen because they cut it. Instead, he just sees the transwarp key and is like, gotta go get that thing. That looks important.
Is it because it'd be too complicated for kids?
See, I don't really think it'd be too complicated for kids. If you've seen any of the Transformers shows, they're not really the easiest things to follow. Like Beast Wars has a lot to do with like time travel, and there's a lot of like weird paradoxical things going on. I mean, that's not really the hardest thing to follow. Well, there's two types of kids. Kids got it.
There's kids who stay invested in a show and follow it.
Exactly.
But then there's kids who jump into a Transformers movie and that's like all they're doing, right? Like I feel like that's a different type of kid. Like maybe probably all of us, we were kids that we would watch every episode of a show.
Absolutely,
and, learn everything. And there's certain kids who are just like, I'll tune in for the movies. I'll show up every so often for an episode. So you came in with high expectations. I also came in with high expectations because of Bumblebee. Because Bumblebee is my highest ranked of the Transformers movies.
Same here.
And by the way, I rank on enjoyability too. That's a huge factor
for sure.
Of like, I'm not just coming at it as a critic. I'm also coming at it as from like a moviegoer, right? Like I want to watch something that's enjoyable to me, not just a boring kind of slogfest. that maybe, good quality but boring, it's not going to rank very high for me. But I came out with high expectations because of Bumblebee, because of my attachment to Beast Wars, because as a 90s kid, and not an 80s kid. 80s kids had Transformers. 90s kids had, had Beast Wars, And I grew up with Beast Wars before Transformers. Transformers were just toys to me. Beast Wars was the show, the story, all those characters. So I was kind of let down,
Yeah.
Stefania, what were your expectations?
I had the same expectation as you because of Bumblebee, how like good Bumblebee was. I expected this one to be just the same or like even better. And I do rank this as like kind of like one of the best Transformers movies. And then I would rank Bumblebee below it. So I'm fine with the score that I came out with, 8 out of 10 for me. Of course, like the human stuff and not enough Maximals and all that brought it down. But yeah, after seeing Bumblebee, a few times, I would watch the movies actually before this movie came out to prep, compare and all. So I watched Bumblebee again before I saw this one, and I was like, yeah, I kind of understand it. I kind of get it. And I kind of would say that I enjoyed, like my enjoyability, I enjoyed this one more than Bumblebee.
Okay. That's fair. Because again, enjoyability can't be argued with.
No. I mean, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score and the audience score, it's drastically different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like in the 90s right now for audience. Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, because audience tends to do it on enjoyability. Mainstream audiences. Like when my parents watch movies, they will like or dislike movies, and so a lot of time we match up, and sometimes we don't. Like my dad watched Wonder Woman 1984, like when we all I watched it with him during the pandemic, and he finished it being like, I liked it, and I was like, that's good for you, good that you get to enjoy it. I did not enjoy it, but for him, he's great on a whole different scale. Does it keep his attention for 2 hours? Is it doing what he wants? Yeah, okay, that's the way he grades. So, like, enjoyability is a big thing. Critics forget about enjoyability.
Yeah. And I was actually, I was reading, like, some of the critics' scores, and they, some of them just, didn't make sense to me. Where it was, one of them was, not enough, human things, whatever. I was just like, it's called Transformers. If they wanted to make a human movie, I mean, they have many, many times humans have been in movies. But it's called Transformers for a reason.
Exactly.
It's at a point in the movie, I turned to my friend and I was like, we were the Transformers the whole time. Transforming.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
He does wear the Transformers suit. Anyway,
he does wear the Transformers suit.
Yeah, the exosuit.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. I think this is a good time to say, what were your rankings for the whole movies? Like all the different Transformers movies. Just to do a quick rundown, we got Transformers 1, 2, and 3, which were the Shia LaBeouf, Michael Bay movies. Then we have 4 and 5, which was Age of Extinction was 4, and Last Night was 5. Those were both the Marky Mark Wahlberg
Marky
movies.
Mark and the Funky. Yeah.
And the reference actually in Rise of the Beast, Marky Mark.
Was it a dig at Mark Wahlberg though?
Or I think so.
Yeah.
I think it was a dig at him,
I felt like kind of it.
Yeah. So those are 4 and 5. Then we had Bumblebee with Haley Steinfeld, and then we had Rise of the Beast, which is this one here. I mean, how'd you guys rank them? Like favorite to least favorite? I mean, I'll say mine. I'll say mine if you guys want me to kick it off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it. Man.
My top one is Bumblebee. Then it's the first Transformers, and then in a very close third is Transformers 3. And then I had to figure out where Rise of the Beast fell, whether I liked Revenge of the Fallen better than Rise of the Beast. And this one was a tough one because I don't like Revenge of the Fallen, but I did find Revenge of the Fallen more enjoyable, even though it had bigger flaws. I think Revenge of the Fallen has bigger flaws than Rise of the Beast, but I enjoyed it more. I don't know. So Revenge of the Fallen, then Rise of the Beast, then Transformers 5, And then in a very close last place, because they're both really bad, Transformers 4. Because Transformers 4, the reason Transformers 4 is the absolute lowest is not only did I feel like it was gonna end and then it like went on for another hour, it had transforming blocks. Like at a certain point, I felt like the animators were like, we're not gonna animate Galvatron, like you know, actually transforming. We're gonna turn him into little blocks that then form what he's gonna. And I'm like, come on, that's not Transformers.
Yeah, that's kind of cheating.
So that was my ranking.
Yeah, so for me, it would probably go Bumblebee as up top. I mean, love the G1 introduction, like at the beginning. You know, War for Cybertron on Cybertron is like something that Transformers fans have been asking for forever now. So that was awesome to see. The original G1 designs were super cool. And then this may be recency bias talking, but Rise of the Beast comes after that.
Okay,
and then it's gotta go Transformers 07, so like the first one. Just because I guess nostalgia, you know? And it was, you know, it was compelling. You know, when you first see Optimus Prime and the crew transform, that's like mind blowing. It's like, how do they do this? You know? And then after that's got to be Dark of the Moon. Dark of the Moon is freaking phenomenal. Sentinel Prime versus Optimus and Megatron is one of the coolest things ever. And then watching Optimus rip off Megatron's head, super brutal, right? Not something any other Optimus would do, but it's definitely enjoyable to watch. Optimus War Crime Prime, you know? And then Revenge of the Fallen comes after that because Devastator's cool. And then, as you put it, Age of Extinction was pretty junk. And The Last Night was terrible. Like, pick an aspect ratio, Mikey. Like, pick an aspect ratio.
Which one's worse? Which one's worse for you?
I'd say The Last Night is worse. They can't pick. They didn't know what they wanted to do, and also they actually introduced Unicron in The Last Night in a blink and you'll miss it moment, and then they mention his name later. And it's also a waste of the Quintessons because they introduced Quintessa, who's like maybe a prime, maybe not a prime, maybe she's an alien, maybe she's something else, you know, maybe she's a pretender like what's her face in the second film. Who knows? So that's kind of a waste of the Quintessons as characters, and then to not even recolor Optimus and call him Nemesis Prime and not have him do anything different. Kind of a letdown. And Megatron is Megatron again, when in the last movie he was Galvatron. It's just a whole slew of continuity errors. Little disappointing.
They keep retconning Transformers into history. It's like
Bumblebee was in World War II. He showed up like 2 years ago. What are you talking about?
I mean, even this movie, I'm still puzzled to see like how this fits, but you know,
it doesn't. That's the thing. It's a reboot. It's completely disconnected, unless it is connected because of dumb timeline stuff. But it is totally not connected. It's a reboot.
So I mean, they can go the timeline is altered now because of Unicron going back in time. You can kind of go that route. But I also thought they would leave at the end of this movie that they would leave Earth and go back to Cybertron in order to come back in the Michael Bay movies, right? Which are only a couple years away because this is 1994, 13 years before 2007, right?
Yeah, and when you keep in mind, Bumblebee was supposed to be around during World War II. And he showed up for the first time in 1987. So how does that jive? Like Transformers,
I'm just gonna say
Transformers have been around since the Dark Ages.
I'm just gonna say it's not connected.
It's not. It's completely.
It's not connected in my head.
Like I think De Laurentiis keeps like saying, "Oh, it's connected. It's connected." But Stephen Caple Jr. says that it's not. It's not. Bumblebee was absolutely a reboot. Travis Knight did the right thing by disconnecting it and saying, we're restarting it here. And if they want to reconnect it via like multiversal shenanigans, they can do that, but I'd rather they not. Like just go. Just do it. Yeah,
like
just
everyone wants to be
commit.
a multiverse thing now, every franchise.
Yeah.
So let's
And
just
I mean,
leave that out.
yeah, there's technically a way they could do it with Unicron.
Yeah.
In some of the comics, Unicron is considered a multiversal singularity. So every Unicron is the same Unicron. There's not like different Unicrons. And then so he can like hop dimensions, kind of, sorta. It's complicated. You know how the multiverse goes.
I like the multiverse only a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's been taking the multiverse to like the extent of like what it could be. I'm more of a fan of altered timelines. You know, like I like it when you go into the past, you alter a timeline, you fracture the timeline. Cool. Like Star Trek did it. X-Men Days of Future Past did it. Like I like that sort of thing. The multiverse part, I'm like, nobody really knows what to do with a multiverse.
Yeah.
And then like nobody can die technically because you could always bring someone back, which is kind of annoying.
Because
like
what happened in this movie?
No stakes, zero stakes.
Yeah.
You know, Bumblebee's dead. Oh no, never mind.
Yeah, we'll bring it back with Energon rocks. Yeah, we'll talk.
But
we'll talk
I will
about
say,
that.
I will say that I enjoyed not having Bumblebee be like one of the main focuses in this movie, or like one of the mains, because we got him for so much. We got him for like 5-6 movies now, so it was a refresher to see Mirage kind of take his place.
Yeah, come into his own, be his own character.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, with Bumblebee's death, I thought it was funny that they were like, Bumblebee, he's gone forever.
Yeah.
Unless.
Yeah, and then like you see in the trailer.
What?
Yeah.
You see in the trailer.
I know when I was watching, I was like, wait, that's in the
stratosphere.
trailer.
Yeah, and like
I
you
forgot
know
about the
that
trailer.
it takes place after because he's got his insignia ripped off. It was it's like you don't spoil your own movie in the trailer of your movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on, Steven.
That's why a lot of people don't watch trailers anymore. But like also they should probably take into consideration maybe altering the trailers like what Marvel does with theirs. So for future movies now.
Yeah. The movie starts off on this one planet, and I thought I knew the twist, but they didn't do the twist. It starts off on this planet with the Maximals, and then Scourge comes in, and he, they give us a lot of exposition, as they do in a lot of Transformers movies. And then Ape Link, which I guess is short for Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got it. Yeah.
The credit, I think, to Paul Lau. Paul came up with that joke. Anyway, they do that, and then they use the transwarp key to escape to Earth. I thought the ultimate twist, because they mentioned that this transwarp key is a thing of time and space, but they only do space. But I thought the twist was going to be that planet in the beginning is future Earth.
So technically that planet exists in the future, right? They talk about it.
Really?
They do. Optimus Primal talks to Optimus, and he's like, we're part of your future and your past.
Yeah.
So Optimus Primal and the Maximals come from the future, right? And this is a continuity thing that kind of bothered me after I watched the film. So Scourge shows up, kicks everybody's ass. Pardon my language. Are we allowed to curse on this?
You can say whatever the fuck you want. Go for it.
Okay.
I'm the boss.
Close one. So kicks the snot out of everybody. And then Optimus Primal and the crew jet off. And Scourge is like, crap, I can't follow them because I don't have the transwarp key. And now Unicron's going to be mad. I got to go back to my pissed off boss. Like, this isn't going to be fun at all. And then they just show up later. But Scourge was in the future, right? Because he was on the Primal planet in the future. And when the Maximals went to Earth, they went to the past. Right. So how did Scourge get there? And if Scourge can get there, why can't Unicron?
Yeah.
It was a bit of a continuity mess. So that was a bit bothersome.
That I thought, because in Beast Wars, they go to the planet, and the planet has like 2 moons, right? And you're not meant to know that it's Earth until later they reveal that it's Earth, and then like one moon gets destroyed or whatever, right?
Yeah, they blow up one of the moons.
And so it's like, okay, that's been Earth all the time, like this whole time, Earth in the past.
Yeah.
And I thought they were gonna pull a cool reveal, which I thought was a wasted layer that wouldn't have complicated it more than the already complications that were here, right? I thought that planet was going to be Earth in the future. Also, why is there a cheetah, a hawk, a gorilla, a rhino, and more? They said there were more, but we never see them that go off in the shuttle. But like, why would they be on an alien planet? They would be alien animals then, right? What's going on?
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be Earth in the future. They transwarp to the past. And that creates an alternate timeline. I don't know.
So in the comics, the way they explain, like, you know, Transformers having dragon modes and dinosaur modes and animal modes, is that one of the original 13 Primes was the first one. I think it's Liege Maximo. Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
He is the first Transformer with a beast mode, and he sends scouts out into the universe to collect like other beast modes so that when they all return, other Transformers can have beast modes, essentially. So that could be a potential explanation as to why the Transformers have beast modes, but it's never outright explained in the film.
No, not at all.
It is a little confusing if you're not a dork like me.
Yeah.
You know?
But also, they're all Earth animals. Like, all of them have Earth animals.
Yeah, exactly. Why
Shouldn't
not?
one of them have
no, why not?
Shouldn't one of them have a Rancor? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, we wish. We wish.
No more Rancors. Oh my god. Triggered.
I just so the time and space thing I thought was a drop thing. But let's talk favorite moments of the movie. You guys have like peak moments?
Yes, I do. But I've got a lot. So Stefania, if you want to go first, all you.
Well, I mean, should I give my ranking?
Oh yeah, that's right. What were your rankings of the Transformers movies? Yeah.
So it was kind of like the same, almost the same as Ryan's, but my number one, you know, could do with like recency of seeing the movie. My number one in terms of like quality is Rise of the Beast, like story quality for the Transformers.
Yeah.
And then I have Bumblebee as second. I have the first Transformers third because, you know, that's like it like hits home for me.
Yeah.
And then I actually have Revenge of the Fallen after that instead of Dark of the Moon.
Ooh.
Okay. Because I think this has to do with like nostalgic more than like story wise and quality. But I enjoyed Revenge of the Fallen, I feel like, more than Dark of the Moon. But I do love the battle more in Dark of the Moon than Revenge of the Fallen, because I feel like Revenge of the Fallen, it was like very quick. Like the Fallen came and then done. He's dead. But you had like Sentinel Prime the whole time and Megatron the whole time in the movie. Yeah. And they like lasted so much longer, obviously. So I felt like the battles in that one was better. And then I wish I could tie him for last, honestly, but then I have Age of Extinction and Last Night. I saw those movies only once, and then I never wanted to see them again. Yeah. I did not enjoy them. I was like, what is this whole thing about knights and like the oldest Witwicky or something like in the last one? I don't know what it was, but I was like Witwicken. It was like Witwicken, right?
Yeah, the Witwicken Society, the Society of Witwickens. Right, yeah,
it's too much.
You're doing too much, Mikey.
Yeah.
Was it still Michael Bay directed those two?
Yeah.
Yes, Michael Bay. So originally he wasn't going to. He wanted to depart. But then he looked at like how James Cameron was still directing the Avatar movies. And
but that point he just did one and then like
but it took him like 10 more years to come out with the second one. But he was like, James Cameron's still directing these ones. And he pointed to all the other franchise movies who were directed by the same person. He was like, well, these are like my kids. I got to come back and do them.
Yeah.
And we see how that turned out. So good going, Mike.
I don't know.
But I mean, he did come back to produce Bumblebee and Rise of the Beasts. And also Steven Spielberg did as well for both those movies. Which was pretty cool, you know. At least he still had a part in the Transformers franchise as a producer.
Yeah.
Which is fair. I mean, again, Michael Bay has some really good visuals. But I think somebody's critique of Michael Bay makes a lot of sense. Is that Michael Bay knows how to frame a shot. He knows how to do all that stuff. But the energy that he puts into each shot is always the same. which means that like every shot, every scene is the most important scene of the movie. When like in movies, you got to have an ebb and a flow, but you can't be like, yeah, every scene is the most important. Why aren't you tuning out? Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, that's why he does the spins and he does all that stuff. And it's like, this isn't the time.
Yeah.
And it's kind of Michael Bay's.
I hear it.
You know?
Someone was like, where are the explosions in Rise of the Beast? I'm like, this ain't a Michael Bay movie.
That's
this is Michael Bay. If you want to see Michael Bay, go see the first Transformers.
Yeah. That's funny. Where are the explosions? Oh man.
There are 2 big battle scenes, right, in this movie. There is the one outside the museum, and then there's the one that's on the not island. Where are they?
In Peru.
They're in Peru, yeah. There's 2 battles in Peru. There's one on the mountainside when they're driving, and then there's one on the mountain or the plateau, I guess.
Oh yeah, you're right. The driving one. Did you guys have a favorite battle? Because like outside the museum was kind of like I liked that one a lot.
Yeah,
it was simple. It was like
it
wasn't 3v3, but it was like close to it, you know.
I would have to say the final battle was pretty rad. And the hillside battle was also cool. I like cars. I'm a big car dork. So it was really cool to see, you know, big Mad Max cars fighting off against like normal cars. And it was also kind of funny to see Pablo eat it, you know, like or Wheeljack, he goes straight off that cliff and he transforms and immediately just eats a boulder. I thought that was really funny. And RC is just like, yeah, whatever. She just kind of keeps going. But the action there was really cool. And seeing Scourge and Optimus kind of face off and then getting close to like toughing it out, that was going to be cool. And then Air Razor has to come in and, you know, get all cosmic arrested. That was cool.
Air Razor, I think, is the Maximal in the first half of the movie. And when Air Razor dies, Optimus Primal takes over as the Maximal. Air Razor also says that like her team is dead, right?
Yeah, which isn't really explained because when you see them take off, it's like just the crew, you know, it's just like the Maximal gang. So like, and also, why are they gone? Like the Terracons just showed up. Who's hunting the other Maximals on the planet? You know what I mean? Obviously, it's not the Decepticons because the Decepticons didn't get the beacon in Bumblebee. So who's hunting these giant robot animals? You know?
There are a lot of plot holes in this movie. And it seems to me that it was rewritten and re-edited.
Yeah, that's how it seems.
And that hurts me because we can see with like, I don't know, Across the Spider-Verse and Guardians 3 are my 2 highest scored movies of this year. Like, you know, they just did a really, really great job. And you can tell it's a singular vision. It's very streamlined. You don't get too many writer's credits on either one of those. Like, you know, and that kind of just like shows you that like, singular vision is what like keeps a movie, you know, on track. But like 5 writers on this,
it's too much.
Doing what?
I mean, it's like you said, it could be all post. Like the other 2 or 3 writers could be all post writers.
Mr. Plow is in the in our Twitch chat, twitch.tv/The Keeg Show. Mr. Plow says Scourge has a Predacon badge on his right pauldron, so maybe they were Predacons.
See, and that's what in the future, what I was saying earlier. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, I would have loved to have seen like at least a hint of the Predacons. They could have just said like, the Predacons, the Predacons got us, you know? They could have name dropped something. They could have like led into it or built up to something in future films, but they just kind of left it in as like if you're a dork like me and you know what a Predacon is and you see that insignia, then it could be Predacons. But and I'm not saying movies don't need to spell everything out. You know, like not everything has to be explained in depth. Like the audience has enough, you know, forethought and knowledge to expect, you know, like they should be able to read into things. But stuff like that is very plot holy, and it's unfortunate because it doesn't have to be. You know, you got 5 writers,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, make it happen.
I think that like Transformers movies though don't leave it up to the audience to decipher.
They don't.
Like
Yeah.
anytime that they like can say exposition, they say exposition, which makes me feel that like anytime there is a plot hole with no explanation, they weren't planning on that. They weren't leaving it up to the audience. That was just them being like, I didn't realize. Oh no. You know, we tried to fix it in post, and now it is what it is.
Yeah, there's a scene in the 3rd act of the film where they have to go like under the mountain to get to the control panel, and they literally explain the entire plan, right? Like, this is what you guys are doing. You're going to go in the tunnels. You're going to get the the control panel. You're going to disable the the laser in the sky. And they get to the tunnel, and there's like a line of dialogue that's like, this is the tunnel that we have to go in. Come on, Elena. And it's like, yeah, we know that, like, where else would you be?
Yeah.
It's more ADR dialogue to explain to the audience what they already know.
Right.
So there's also not everything has to be spelled out.
Yeah. But another line when you're like in that scene when they're going through the tunnel is when Mirage goes down, right? And he sees Noah and through the like ground in the holes. Yeah, the grate. And then like Mirage like talks to him saying, Noah, like get there. Of course, Scourge is gonna hear. Or I don't know who he's fighting, but like they're gonna hear. They're gonna like get him.
Big brain move there, Mirage.
I thought that was like, I mean, it's also kind of like, Mirage kind of would do something like that based on his characteristics and all that I have seen so far in this movie.
Right. Also, who's the tunnel for?
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like,
that's another thing.
Small for a Transformer. First of all, there are those small scorpion things.
Yeah.
Yeah, the scorpions and the freezers.
So they could go in those tunnels.
What are they going to do down there?
Like,
they're not maintenance, man.
If not then, who goes in the tunnel? Who are the tunnels for? Those aren't Peruvian tunnels. Those are Transformer tunnels.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure they like have smaller Transformers that are like mechanics that go down there and fix stuff.
But they didn't have them?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
like
not.
You could.
They were off duty.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, hey, we're
sorry, guys. We're on a lunch break. Yeah.
This is a Cybertron mandated lunch break.
Yeah, OSHA regulated.
I am OSHA-tron, just here to make sure things are checked off.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, again, I chalk up the plot holes to probably, it has to be post. It has to be post-production stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mr. Plow is also a big Transformers fan. Mr. Plow says G1 fans have to rewire their perceptions of Mirage. He has Hound's powers, Jazz's vehicle mode, as well as Sunstreaker, and a dump truck mode, and the Mirage Formula 1 mode. I mean, yeah, he turned into a lot of different things, right?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
But they still can't turn into jets?
Yeah, flying's not allowed if you're an Autobot, unless you're Stratosphere or Jetfire, who's a Decepticon, or many of the other Autobots that fly. But flying's not allowed if you're an Autobot. Unless it is.
Yeah.
And then it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had Strafe, a Strafe toy as a kid.
Yeah.
I don't even know if a Strafe is a character or just a toy.
I couldn't tell you, man.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's a character, but not a very important one.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of the name before, but I can't pinpoint it.
Yeah. But like, Mr. Plow says, or Power Glide or the aerial bots. And Silver Streak is both a Concorde jet and a Winged Wolf Fusor or Silver Bolt in Beast Wars. So
yeah.
Yeah. There were a lot of things going on in this movie. What were the big, I mean, we kind of touched on it. What were the big critiques?
It was really the dialogue for me. Like, a lot of the dialogue was a little weird. Also, there were a few times they dissed Optimus Prime, and like I don't like it when movies like tear down their legacy character heroes.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's not cool. Like friendly jabs are one thing, but tearing down Optimus Prime, not the coolest.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the most of it. A lot of and then the thing at the end, the thing at the end, the crossover thing at the
Yeah.
end. I know a lot of people are excited for that, but I don't really see, like, as far as I'm aware, that franchise is not their most profitable franchise.
No.
The last film in the franchise that they released was a bust. I don't think anyone went to see it.
I saw it, but I fell asleep in
exactly, yeah. Because like yeah.
It should have been great.
The
trailer was really great for Snake Eyes. By the way, yeah, I guess for anyone out there, like G.I. Joe Transformers crossover. Okay. But
yeah, and I mean, like, that's been a thing that they've done in the past. Like G.I. Joe and Transformers, like, they've connected the comics a ton of times. I think there was a show. They do it a lot with the toys sometimes. Like, I think the most recent one was a Megatron Cobra Commander action figure set.
Yeah.
But do you really want to jump into that right now, or do you want to build up to that? Like, leave little hints here and there in the films. Don't just like straight up say G.I. Joe on the back of a business card. Wow, that's groovy. Like, build up to it. Everybody, like you guys are saying, they want to make this big multiverse. They want to do this expanded universe thing, but they never seem to go about it the right way.
You gotta earn it.
Exactly. Yeah. You gotta earn it. You gotta build up to it. You gotta make people invested. You can't just say, this is the thing we're doing, go watch it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a little weird.
Stefania, thoughts about G.I. Joe crossover?
So I thought it was gonna be Sector 7 because they existed in Bumblebee.
Yeah. Same here.
And if this was a remake, following Bumblebee, I figured that would be them at the end.
Yeah.
But then it said G.I. Joe, and I was like, oh, okay, so they're, I don't know if you could hear that, but that was like a motorcycle that drove by my house.
It's RC coming.
It's been like happening all day this whole time. But like I saw it and I was like, oh, okay, so they've done crossovers before, like it's not really surprising. But like you said, their G.I. Joe stuff has not been great. So unless they like really make them really well, they should kind of hold off a few years for that or longer. Like a slow introduction would be nice for it. We see, okay, they exist now. I kind of don't want to see them again for like another few movies. Like for me, I want a Cybertron movie. That's what I want. Like I'd rather focus on that than G.I. Joe stuff. Like I don't want to what I'm afraid it's gonna be like another remake of the Bay movies where it's very heavy military focused and not Transformers focused.
Exactly, yeah.
That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. They have to include the humans. I feel like they don't know what to do if there's no humans in Transformers, which is weird to me, but I mean there's an easy fix, and that is any human qualities you want to create in a human, create in an Autobot.
Attached to the
if you want a younger brother thing, have an Autobot with a younger Autobot brother.
Yeah, like that's the relationship that Bumblebee usually has with Optimus,
which we never see. I'm sorry.
Unfortunately not. It's weird that they think that people cannot connect to something they don't immediately identify with. Like, I can relate to all of the characters in Transformers Prime, but I'm not a 10-foot alien robot.
Right.
And I think that maybe it's easier for what's that? Yeah, it's because they have human emotions. They're characters. They have a lot of development. Like you see them go through terrible things, and you feel for them, and you see them triumph, and you're excited because the good guys are winning. And even the bad guys, you want to root for sometimes because they're charismatic and enjoyable to watch. You don't have to be a 10-foot alien robot to relate to one.
Right. I think
it's weird.
I think when it comes to humanizing the Autobots, to be crude, I guess, 3 things we need to believe that they're humans, to empathize with them. It's blood, it's tears, and it's do they fuck?
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? Like, do they love? Do they procreate? Do they have families?
Yeah. So it depends on the continuity. In the original continuity, they just budded, right? They just like split, like mitosis.
Oh,
and then
I thought
in
but
other...
I was like, budded?
No, they bud, like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
bud, like mitosis.
Cool, yeah.
And then in other continuities, they grow out of the ground, and then Primus implants a spark within them,
Oh, okay.
using either like Vector Sigma or the Allspark, depends on the continuity.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's usually no canoodling in Transformers, unless you want to talk about a certain Japanese franchise that's awful and I know nothing about.
GoBots? Does GoBots have that?
No,
Oh.
not GoBots.
I don't want to.
For those Transformers fans who know, you know, but I'm not going to mention it.
Okay.
It's pretty cursed.
Cool. So, I mean, you could also, but like, these movies are also their own continuity, so their own rules.
Yeah.
That's the kind of the problem. The good and the bad is they can create their own rules, but then they create things like Harriet Tubman knew a Transformer. Like,
yeah.
Why,
we're back on Michael Bay again, are we?
What is this necessary? But what I mean is trying to think like, okay, family units, right? Like, are there mothers and fathers and whatnot? Like, if it gets too away from that, then people can't like empathize, because it's like you're grown out of the ground, you're just a machine. But like, if you have a mother and a father, let's just say, or a brother and a sister, or a love of your life, if Mirage and RC are in love, what do they want to do? What are their wants and desires? We never see any of that.
Yeah, see, apparently in an earlier cut of the film, Wheeljack or Pablo, depending on what you want to call him, and RC we're supposed to have... What's up?
Why is he called Pablo?
Why is he called Pablo? Because you got Pablo on the side of the van.
Oh, but he is Wheeljack.
Yeah, yeah. His real name's Wheeljack, but he looks nothing like Wheeljack. He acts nothing like Wheeljack.
Yeah.
He's Wheeljack in name only.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing. That's another thing that I wanted to bring up. Like, Wheeljack felt like kind of a wasted character.
Yeah.
He shows up and then he doesn't really do anything except shoot some guns. You know, you could say the same thing about Rhinox. Like, Rhinox shows up. He doesn't have a single line of dialogue.
Yeah.
Which is incredibly disappointing, because in Beast Wars, he's like one of the forefront characters.
Yeah.
And he's not exactly talkative, but when he speaks, his words carry weight. And he's very intelligent and he's very grounded.
He's the smart engineer.
He's kind of like the big brother of the group. What's up?
He's the engineer, right? He's the smart.
Yeah, exactly.
Guy.
Exactly, yeah. So it's disappointing to see like the big brother of the group and the one that kind of grounds everybody.
Yeah.
And the intelligent one not say a single word.
Yeah,
that was a little disappointing.
You also don't get a good look at his mode in his
when Optimus Primal catches Battletrap's mace, I thought it was Rhinox, and I was like, all right, let's get some Rhinox action, you know, like bust out the double Gatling guns, let's go ham. But instead it's Optimus Primal, which love seeing Optimus Primal and Optimus Prime go at it together. That was really fun and engaging. But it would have been really cool to see the other Maximals get their time in the limelight.
Yeah. You don't see Air Razor's robot form at all.
You don't, which I kind of knew was going to happen. None of the toys, like all of the toys are based on other toys, and there's no concept art for her robot mode on any of the boxes. So I kind of knew going into the film that we were never going to get to see Air Razor, because she was going to die early on in the film, which she doesn't. She dies like halfway through the film, but still a little disappointing not to see that. Yeah, it was such a waste, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not like she dies in Beast Wars. Spoilers, by the way. Well, she doesn't die. It's complicated, as it usually is.
I think Mr. Plow went over, talked about it, maybe the Fusor. Right?
Yeah.
Thing.
It's a little weird. Also kind of a wasted character in Beast Wars. But we're talking about Rise of the Beast today.
Yeah.
So
but that's
we're
the
gonna go
thing,
off on a
though.
tangent
like,
if we get into that.
A lot of potential was lost in this movie.
Yeah.
The Maximals didn't do anything.
No, they just show up, they flex their big gorilla muscles, and then they just kind of walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, now, it makes me wonder if they're gonna like eventually do a Beast Wars movie, because like I mean, we got the introduction. I guess this was supposed to be more of an introduction of the Maximals, but if you're gonna call it Rise of the Beasts, I expect there to be more beasts than what we got. And if they're gonna do like a Beast Wars movie, like their Infinity War kind of movie, then I expect to see like all of them there. But I don't know if they'll eventually do that.
Yeah.
See, my thing, and bringing it back to this G.I. Joe crossover, is that like both franchises need to earn the crossover. And right now, I mean, say what you will about Transformers, it's like, okay, there's been enough Transformers that you could do a crossover. But there hasn't been enough G.I. Joes, and there hasn't been quality G.I. Joe movies. Like, what continuity? Because the new Snake Eyes movie was a reboot. So what G.I. Joe are they doing? They're going to probably do a fresh new universe. They're going to essentially piggyback on Transformers to then start their brand new series of G.I. Joes. But the problem also is that, like, if you do the first new G.I. Joe movie that's a crossover with this, they're not going to jump off. Because how will you do a G.I. Joe Transformers crossover movie and then have G.I. Joe do their solo series without the Transformers? It's going to feel a little empty because you already hit the biggest note. You started off with a crossover.
Yeah, it's like leading with the Avengers. It's like, where do you go from here?
DC did it and failed, you know?
And they failed. Yeah,
that's a problem.
Exactly. Yeah, it is.
Mr. Plow says Fast and the Furious and Transformers. I mean, I've thought about that.
There's an Instagram clip out there where it's Vin Diesel turning around and he's like, I got a friend. And it's Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
Dude, I would love that. That'd be hilarious. That'd be great. Like, I feel like if they leaned into the absurdity of some of this stuff, like giant transforming robots, I feel like the movies would be a lot more fun. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be the most realistic thing. They're Transformers. They're 10-foot alien robots transforming into cars.
Yeah.
Make it a little goofy. It doesn't have to be stone cold serious.
Yeah.
But don't make it a joke either, like Michael Bay did. You got to find that balance.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if a future Transformers movie didn't cross over with Fast and the Furious, but they incorporated, like, okay, we got a team of street race drivers, right? Like, and like they did their version of Fast and the Furious. Essentially, just the human element is the racers, and then they paired them up with the Autobots.
That'd be awesome.
But like,
I kind of like hate that idea. Not gonna lie.
That's fair.
Just because like the Fast and Furious movies, it started with just like street racing. That's what it was. Yeah. And now it's like they're going to space. They're like, it's like there's a multiverse is gonna open up in the Fast and Furious franchise. Like I'm kind of like tired of the Fast and Furious movies. Like I have never seen the movie. I've never seen the movies, but I like am familiar with the first movie.
Yeah. And
it's all like street racing, the first few.
Yeah.
When you start like going to space and all that, and like now Dom Toretto has like super strength, he's like a superhero or something.
Yeah.
Like and then if you just introduce Transformers into that, it'll just ruin the franchise for me. It'll ruin Transformers for me.
I agree. I mean, Fast X was a disappointment to me, but mostly because I should have seen it coming from a mile away. But like, there are no stakes because no matter what, you know that a character won't die unless they choose to die. Like, it just won't happen. Nobody stays dead. People come back from the dead. Like, did you guys see Fast X? Are you guys cool with the spoiler?
I have not seen it, but go for it, man.
It ends on a cliffhanger, right? Well, on a couple cliffhangers because it leads to a next part. Like, because Fast 11 and 12 are supposed to be the final two parts. So it ends on a cliffhanger. The dam is about to explode. Some people in another saw another cut where the dam does explode. The water goes towards Vin Diesel and then it cuts. But in this one, it like he's looking up, it explodes, and that like it cuts to black. Basically, okay, in real life, a dam explodes. How is he going to get out of this, right? How is he a whole torrent of water bigger than a tsunami? It's like super tall is gonna hit him, right? Him and his son. But in Fast and the Furious logic, it'll hit him, he'll brace himself, and he'll just swim to the top, and then he'll be good. Like,
well, obviously what happens is Optimus Prime comes in and he saves him. I mean, come on.
It has to be a submarine Autobot.
Yeah.
Wait, is this the Hoover Dam? Tidal like wave. All the Autobots should be there on the Decepticons.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now.
Like that's when the
Bumblebee's inside Sector 7. He's being like frozen.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
It
it's
isn't
that
the Hoover Dam,
timeline.
but it does. It's Portugal, I think, because they decided to be in Portugal for this movie. So it's like, I don't know. The point being is there's no stakes. He'll just swim to the top. He'll be fine. There's not going to be any long-lasting thing. That's the problem with Fast and the Furious. Does Transformers have that now? There's always a bigger and bigger problem, and they solve it. Bumblebee came back from the dead. Airazor is just dead. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this a problem with the Transformers franchise?
That was one of the things I kind of worried about when they introduced Unicron as the overarching big bad.
Yeah.
Unicron is like end game level material. And that's not to say they can't bring him back and have him go ham later, but so like he's not dead by any stretch of the imagination, but he's banished. So if he wants to like take his revenge and destroy Optimus Prime or whatever, I mean, he can always come back. There's always the opportunity for that, but they're gonna have to build up to that, and it's kind of hard to build up to that when that's what you let off on.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem with any of these franchises. You have to have bigger and bigger stakes, or have a good writer to write a smaller stake movie. Which kind of happens with some of these franchises when they get too big. Then you got to reel them back in and be like, it's a human on human conflict. Like that's what we're dealing with.
That's why Bumblebee was so great. It was a personal story. It was about Charlie and Bumblebee trying to stop two Decepticons from alerting the rest of the Decepticons.
Right.
It was smaller. It was more grounded, and it wasn't necessarily a world-ending threat. Like they just had to turn off the beacon.
Right.
And like if they had failed, it could have led into another film. But it was good because it was a shorter, smaller scale story. And then they lead into the next film with like the biggest bad guy ever.
Right.
So, kind of a rough one.
Also, a lot of this movie, I forget the name that was coined on the internet, but I'm gonna rephrase it to plot questing or quest plotting or whatever. It was essentially a step-by-step thing. Get this, do this, activate this. That is our plot of the movie. And that's a lot of Transformers movies, and it's getting kind of old.
Yeah, MacGuffin hunt, a fetch quest.
Fetch quest.
I got you.
Yeah, fetch quest.
It was a bit of a fetch quest. But like you said earlier, that is kind of what most of the films are about. First it was the Allspark, then it was the Matrix, which was a thing, and then it was the pillars. We gotta collect all the pillars like the Pokemon.
Yeah.
And then after that, in Age of Extinction, they had to get the seed, and then after the seed, it was Optimus. I think was the last. Was Optimus
basically
the fetch quest in the last movie?
Night?
Yeah,
I think so.
It was a spaceship. It was a book.
Yeah.
It was like
but Bumblebee wasn't a fetch quest. That's the thing.
No, Bumblebee was not a fetch quest. And it was great. That's why it was great. Yeah.
I want more. And I think that's like the thing, and you can't do more with the rewrites that it probably had, right? We're assuming that they're rewrites. You can't do more with it. I get it. It's just a constraint of whatever time and effort that they wanted to put into this movie. But like it should have been a movie. Make it about a boy in his car again, I guess. I don't know. We haven't had that. Like, well, Bumblebee was, but like, I don't know. What could have made this movie better in your guys's? I mean, you guys rated it pretty high, which is awesome. What would have made it a 10?
Well, I will start off with what I thought was gonna happen and kind of lowered my expectation. Well, the toys came out before the movie, right? And they just decided to throw in Megatron as one of the toys for Rise of the Beast.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that had me thinking, like, one, that's a spoiler, and then two, where was he in the film? If you're gonna promote him in like the franchise's toy line, where is he in the film? I thought he was gonna like show up in a post-credit scene, or like there was something
did I.
about Decepticons. But I mean, that's just their way of, you know, selling more toys. Throw a Megatron in there and boom, you have sales.
Yeah.
But I think what I would have liked more is the whole third act of the movie was like just the best for me. I that's my favorite part of the movie. But I think the post-credit scene shouldn't have been something like G.I. Joe. And if it was, make it Sector 7, because that would make more sense in my opinion. But I felt like we should have seen something about like the Decepticons or other, you know, Transformers beings out there, besides like ones that we've already seen. I expected a Decepticon to show up. I just expect, because like I was looking at all the symbols on Scourge's arm, wherever he keeps it. I was like, oh, there's a Decepticon on there. Like we're gonna see one at some point. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I felt like that would have been cool to see instead of the post-credit scene that we got. And the dialogue I wish was like better. I wish it wasn't just like thrown in there, some of the dialogue, like we were saying. I feel like they should have, I guess, you know, if they rewrote it, they should have felt more confident in their original writing. If it was like any better. I don't know if they like did any tests with the original writing or if they gotten like opinions, whatever. But something made them change the writing in post. So I just wish that was developed a bit better.
Yeah. I want to shout out the official Megs on YouTube. Says wish that it was just Meg says primals, maximals, what I'm assuming. And it makes me think, I understand you have to introduce some of the Autobots, but it could have been a passing the torch movie to show us how interesting the Maximals were. They could have given everybody a personality, which they didn't. They lacked on personality with RC. RC didn't do anything other than be Smurfette for this movie, right?
She was the lady. She was the girl one,
right?
Yeah.
They could have passed it. They could have had Cheetor be the you know the
new Bumblebee,
the young Bumblebee kind of character. You could have had Pete Davidson do Cheetor, have Cheetor be this guy's pet cheetah, right? Like instead of having a car, have a cheetah that can, maybe he turns into a motorcycle. That's fine, but he's a cheetah, right? He's a boy and his pet instead of a boy and his dog, and introduce us to this sect of not Autobots, but like the Autobots know of the Maximals, and the Maximals are like there fighting their own fight. The Autobots have better things to do. Maybe they're on their way back to Cybertron. They introduce Noah to the rest of the Maximals. The Autobots leave after one fight after the museum, and then we have the Maximals. It could have been that.
I feel like it could have been that, and it probably should have been that. But people are going to see Optimus Prime and Bumblebee in a movie and be like, oh, I want to see that movie. Like, those are the two that drive people to the theater.
Give them
so
one
if they
fight.
didn't have, so if they didn't have them in the movie, then I feel like it would have just like drawn people out. But having them in just one fight, like in the beginning, whatever, and then leave, and then just the Maximals taking over and them being the only ones in the last fight against the Terracons, that would have been cool, because that would have actually lived up to the title of Rise of the Beasts,
right?
And could have led into something more. And then like the post-credit scene could have been something with the Autobots, like maybe they're on Cybertron, maybe they have like a problem with the Decepticons, like that could have led into the next movie. That would have worked.
Or there's still an Autobot team on Earth. They're like, hey, you guys there? You guys left without us? Okay.
It's like Nick Fury with this like what's it called, pager with Captain Marvel, like pages the Autobots.
Hey, we're still on Earth. Can you guys coming back for us? And like it cuts. Like, okay. You know? You could have done the same thing that this movie did, but better. You wouldn't have to change much. You know, you have the beginning scene, you have the museum stuff. Then we meet the Maximals. Air Razor stays alive. By the way, I hated that, like, Scourge can shoot something that will then dissolve you and then take over you. He could have shot that at everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe there's a
Yep.
cooldown.
Yeah, he's like a boss. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge cooldown.
Yeah.
He can only use it
Yeah.
once. He's like,
Yeah.
steady.
He's got to like make more like Spider-Man's web shooters.
Yeah.
Web fluid.
He's like, there's a what's it called? A refraction period?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-oh. He's
Yeah.
like, baby, I would love to go twice, but I only had that one in me. All right. Give me some time. Let me drink some Powerade.
Let me soak up some Energon.
Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
I'll give you everything you want and more. You're just gonna give me some time, baby. Yeah, I don't know. You could have, like, they could have, I don't know. Maybe it's their just dependency on the cars, but they could have still released the toy line if they just had one fight scene with the Autobots and then kind of gone from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
was expecting Megatron too. I was really expecting like maybe a post-credit scene with Megatron, and then if you guys have seen the 1986 film, the cartoon, you know that Megatron dies in the first act.
Yeah.
And then he gets reformatted by Unicron into Galvatron.
Yeah.
So like we still could have gotten like a Megatron reveal, and then he could have gotten like reformatted by Unicron into Galvatron. And then Galvatron could have been like another herald for Unicron, and he could be the main villain in the next film or like the next few films leading up to the return of Unicron. Yeah. I think that would have been neat. You could have kept the Autobots, maybe just refined their personalities a little bit, kept the Maximals, sent them back to their home world. I know that it was destroyed, or kept the Maximals as part of the crew.
Like a mix and match.
I don't know. Like what Stefania was saying, it's really hard to get rid of Optimus Prime and Bumblebee. Like they did that in the 1986 film, and Hasbro got a ton of letters because they were like, you can't kill Optimus Prime. He's like the face of the franchise.
Yeah.
It's like killing the dad of the group. It's no fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely would have liked to see Megatron in some capacity in the film. And like you were saying, I was expecting maybe a Decepticon tease at the end of it.
Or Predacon.
They just shot a giant laser into the sky that only Transformers can see.
Yeah.
If the beacon in the last film didn't work, this definitely would, right?
Right. Well, that brought Scourge, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know what brought Scourge. No one knows what brought Scourge.
Yeah. Well, there's like, are you talking at the end of Bumblebee?
Yeah, so at the end of Bumblebee, they have the Decepticons are trying to fire a signal to the Decepticons.
Yeah.
But they stop it. I figure the transwarp key launching a giant beacon into the sky that only Transformers can see would act similarly, would it not? I mean, it's a giant energy pulse. It apparently signaled to Scourge and Unicron that there was something on Earth. I don't know.
Again, a lot of plot holes.
It'd be a cool lead-in.
Yeah.
Now, all you gotta do is type up a little, we've detected an energy surge on a planet called Earth. This can only mean one thing. And then Megatron steps out and he's like, let's go get him.
It would have been a cool post-credit scene. Imagine this, where they're like, the bad guys are trying to bring Megatron back. Just a quick cutscene. Like, we have a signal of his spark, but he doesn't have a form. And and they're like, maybe they set up in a museum or something. And like, he comes as the T-Rex.
Yeah, that would be, that'd be sick, you know? Yeah.
Like he comes, you can see his face. It's Megatron coming, and he comes out of the shadow, and then he does a
he transforms,
you know, into a T-Rex.
Beast Wars Megatron.
Yeah,
that'd be sick.
We haven't
so
seen
much potential.
Megatron in his like live action G1 form.
Yeah,
like we got that whole beginning of Bumblebee.
We know that there's a model for G1 Megatron because the concept art on the toy is Bumblebee style. So that model is out there somewhere. It just has yet to be used. Originally, it was going to be used in the post-credit scene for Bumblebee, but they nixed it because they didn't want to reveal anything too early.
But it's a gun, though.
They were still debating whether or not it was a reboot or a prequel at that time, I think.
It's him turning into a gun, though, right?
It freaking better be. It's not Megatron if he doesn't turn into a Walther, man.
They're not going to release a gun toy. They're not going to release
No, they're
No,
not.
they did.
He'll turn in.
No, I think the one of the Rise of the Beast toys, I think he does transform into a gun. I don't know.
Does he really?
I don't know. I could be wrong on that. I was
anymore.
like, I was like walking in Target, and I think or Walmart, and I might have seen it. I saw
it's
like
a tank.
Oh, it's a tank. Okay, never mind.
Which is just a big gun. You know?
Yeah, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
But like no.
Yeah, they wouldn't
like
do
no
that.
one's gonna get in trouble with like you know what I mean? Like you hold a tank out in the in the world. I think it's a big problem that they have to overcome now.
Yeah. I mean, like they could do it in the film, like that would be cool. But like as a toy, not keep him as a tank.
I feel though if he turns into a gun, somebody bigger has to use him, right?
Yeah.
Well, so it's called mass shifting. So in like the G1 continuity, he transforms into like a little Walther P-38 and Shockwave or Soundwave uses him. And that's cool, but it's something, it was a question that I had about Mirage actually, because Mirage transforms from like a little tiny Porsche to like this big old dump truck. And I didn't think we were playing the mass shifting game in the live action films, but
also, what are the rules? They have to scam
the
item?
What are the rules?
Do they scan item? Is that
I don't know anymore. I don't know.
It's whatever they want.
It's hammer space. That's what it is.
I mean, exactly. It's just hammer space.
I'm cool with the mass shifting.
Out of nowhere.
I'm cool with the mass shifting. I don't understand how they choose what they can transform into. I would assume they would have to be next to it or in line of sight, or scan it.
Yeah.
And do that. Because otherwise, again, they would just turn into jets.
Yeah, and I mean that's what they do in Bumblebee, you know. Dropkick and Shatter cruise in on their comets, and they scan those sick muscle cars. They turn into cool muscle cars.
You gotta scan them. But then also like a problem that Revenge of the Fallen has is that like if the Transformers and like the Autobots and Decepticons can turn into humans, then that's Endgame right there. Like they can just turn into humans and be Terminators.
Yeah.
It's a huge jump in Revenge of the Fallen that they never go back to.
That was supposed to be like a Pretender reference. So like after G1, they had these like human shells that they could exist in. That was a weird time for Transformers, man. But yeah, Pretenders. That's what that was supposed to be a reference to. But yeah, like if they can just transform into people, then you don't have to be a giant car.
Right. Yeah. You're talking about like robots in disguise. They should turn into people and be.
Doesn't get more in disguise than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if you can mass shift, then just turn small and hide.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
It's weird. They need to flesh these things out. You know, like just a line like can't get that big. That doesn't work.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, they could turn into huge kaiju's.
Yeah. I don't know.
And
it's
just like. Optimus Prime turns to Unicron size and punches him straight in the eye.
Yeah, punches him in the eyeball. Yeah,
yeah.
That's it. That's the whole end battle.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. As we close this up, there are a couple other thoughts. The exosuit, the Mirage exosuit, like or dislike?
No, not a fan. It lost me. It really lost me.
Yeah,
they've done exosuits before, but it's never been a transformer. It's always been like a separate piece of technology. Like Kicker Jones has an exosuit, but Kicker Jones was also the worst. And then Spike Witwicky and his son, Spike Witwicky and Sparkplug Witwicky, they have cool like bubble helmets and like cool spacesuits, and they're cool. But they're never like they transform into like little car shuttle things, but they're not transformers. They're separate technology. Yeah. And also, like, is Mirage still in that suit with them? Because that's kind of awkward. You know?
Well, you were inside me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, whoa. Yeah, so that's a little odd.
Yeah. Also, the fact that like he can split off pieces. I mean, they set up for the suit that he splits off the piece and he creates the glove.
He's got the hand.
So he shows that. But maybe if we show that like the different Transformers have different powers. Like they don't all have the same power set. Some can mass shift. Some can split into different pieces. Right? Like if we show that, like we got to create rules here. Some can do it. Some can't. Some can heal. Some like can fly. Some can turn into jets, and some can't. Some like Rhinox can't turn into a jet. because he's too heavy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, they do all of that stuff in G1 continuity and in the aligned continuity. Like if certain Transformers have certain powers, but they're limited by those powers.
Right.
In this, it's just like, yeah, I guess we get to do whatever we want when we want to do it.
Right.
Because we're Transformers, and that's cool.
Right.
Which is
kind of sounds like they're like still figuring out the Transformers, like what, like I guess they try and reach the max of what they can do in this film, and then maybe they'll dial it back down in future films because they're trying to still figure out what they want to do or what each of them, what power they should each have, basically. What's their ability?
Yeah.
So maybe they were just like, let's just throw them all in there and like see what people think about it.
You know what series did that really well? Transformers Animated. Like, there's literally an entire sequence where Sentinel Prime, different Sentinel Prime, like walks down the cadet line, and he's like, "So what can you do?" And Ironhide like turns into metal, even though they're already metal. He turns into even more metal. And then there's like, he's like, "Okay, that's cool." And then he goes over to another guy, and he's like, "Okay, what can you do?" And he can extend all his limbs, you know. So like, it's established that they all have different powers. Like Jazz has sonic powers. Ultra Magnus has his Magnus hammer. Like they all have these different abilities that they can access, but they're unique to each individual, and it's set up. You know, it's not just like this character can do this because we wrote it in, and he's the only one with special powers. You know,
if they created rules like that, it would be so much more interesting. Because, for example, what if there was a Transformer that could bring people back to life? And in the beginning, you kill off Megatron and Optimus, and both teams are trying to get that Transformer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
they have a personality behind the MacGuffin.
Yeah, in Transformers Armada, which was like the first part of the Unicron trilogy back in like the early 2000s, they were after mini-cons, which are like little Transformers that can transform into weapons. But each mini-con had a unique ability, and the entire reason the Autobots and Decepticons were fighting is so that they could have access to the mini-cons so they could defeat their opponents better.
Yeah.
But each mini-con had their own ability, and you wanted to get like the coolest mini-con. So like you said, that'd be a good way to like introduce MacGuffins, have their own personality, make them more than just objects or powers, like give them a reason for being there.
I just remembered what the line of dialogue was. It was, "Humans are more than meets the eye." That's what they said in the movie, and I was like, we've been the Transformers this whole time.
Yeah.
When he said that, I was like, oh.
It's a little too much, right?
Yeah.
Looks like it's Rise of the Beasts.
Yeah, it's time to rise of the beasts.
He said the thing. He said the thing.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's maximizing time.
Yeah. I mean, they did say till all are one.
Yeah,
which is pretty
that
cool.
Was great. You guys want to talk about hype moments, like moments that got you hyped?
Yeah.
The whole third act.
Yeah, the entire third act. I've got like a whole list here of things that got me hyped. Till All Are One was really cool. Nice little throwback to the original film. And then when Optimal is like charging the battle, and he's like, "Rhinox, Cheetor, maximize!"
Yeah,
and they freaking squat up.
But it's blurry. You don't even see like.
Yeah, you know that was disappointing.
Yeah.
Why couldn't we get just a 2-shot of like Cheetor and Rhinox back to back in their maximum modes?
Yeah.
One with the staff and one with the hammer. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
Kind of like how we got the introduction of the Autobots in the first Transformers, like, but for the Maximals.
Yeah. Yeah, like when Rhinox and Cheetor originally rocked up, and then they like were all cool with each other, that's when they should have transformed. And that's when they should have been like, "This is who we are. We're groovy. Everything's cool. We're all on the same team here." That's when that should have happened. But animation budget, I guess.
Yeah. I want to shout out Vulcan Blue, who hopped into our chat on Twitch, saying Optimus Prime doing a Mortal Kombat fatality on Scourge made me hella moist.
Yes, absolutely.
You don't have to say hella moist, but I gotcha.
The greatest part is that they set it up like when Scourge and Optimus were on the bridge and Air Razor destroys the bridge, he's like, I'm telling you now, Scourge, I'm gonna rip your freaking head off.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he rips his head off, and yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
It was like
Also,
head and spine attached.
Yeah, it was excellent.
After he puts his head into the lava.
Yeah.
Speaking of Scourge, I think I talked to you about this, Dimithri, but I don't know if you know about this, Stefania, but the fan theory that Scourge is actually Michael Bay Optimus. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't hear that.
Okay, so the theory goes that at the end of the last night, which off a movie, but interesting theory, at the end of the last night, they awaken Unicron and the Autobots lose, right? And Unicron destroys the planet Earth, and then, much like he does to Galvatron in the original movie, he reformats Optimus Prime into Scourge, and he becomes his herald in the next dimension. So, like, Unicron devours the Michael Bay dimension, and then he hops into the Bumblebee dimension with Michael Bay Optimus Prime as Scourge. And when I tell you, when Mirage kicks Scourge's face off, I was like, they're gonna do it. Like,
I thought it was gonna be
they're gonna reveal that it's Optimus Prime, and like they really built up to it because like they creep up his leg and it's super suspenseful.
Yeah.
I was gripping my armrest. I was like, it's gonna be Optimus, and it wasn't, and I wasn't upset. But
who was it? I thought it was gonna be a reveal of someone, and it was just like, check out this guy's ugly face.
This guy's ugly. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically.
But I mean, I was if they would have revealed it as Optimus Prime, like I know that there are a lot of Michael Bay fans who are not happy that they're nixing the entirety of that continuity.
Yeah.
If they had made Scourge Optimus from the Bay timeline, I think that would have like eased the tension between the fans. But I'm not upset that it's not.
That was
I just think it would have been
so
really
complicated.
freaking. Yeah, I think it would have been really sick if it was though.
It should have been
it probably would have
somebody.
been sick.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a future version of somebody. Because again, I kept thinking they were in the future. They came to the past. I thought it was going to be this like loop of like, even if it was a future Optimus Prime, you know?
Yeah, and I thought about that too, because when Optimus Prime gets sucked up into Unicron, or like he almost gets sucked up into Unicron, I was like, oh, what they're going to do is they're going to suck Optimus into Unicron, and Unicron's going to be like, you killed my herald. You have to be my herald now. And then he reformats him and he becomes Scourge. And then like the timeline resets, and then they have to do it and not screw it up this time.
Yeah.
Like that would have been fun.
I thought there was going to be a loop. I thought there was going to be a timeline reset because they kept bringing up the space-time transwarp. And I thought that Unicron would win and then they would restart.
Yeah. Yeah. That would have been neat. What else do I have in my little book of secrets? Oh, another part that really got me excited was when Scourge first speaks to Unicron in the subway tunnel. You guys know what I'm talking about? After he gets the first half of the transport key. By the way, complete spoilers at this point.
Well, this whole thing has been spoilers.
Oh yeah.
So when he first presents the transwarp key to Unicron, the score, I swear, it's the same score as when Unicron is introduced in the 1986 film, and it's chilling. Like for a dork like me who loves the 1986 film, it really I was like, oh, this is totally gonna be a love letter to the fans. And it kind of was, like it had little Easter eggs here and there, but using that score, like if you watch the original 1986 film, Unicron's introduction is chilling. And a lot of that is because of the score. The score is super ominous. Like it's got like this synthy bass going on. It's really eerie, So when Scourge first consults Unicron, they definitely carried that over. I was like, this guy's gonna be really spooky. And it was. It was Unicron was never something that I wasn't afraid of the entire film. He was definitely pretty imposing.
Yeah. Vulcan Blue says it's confirmed to be the Unicron theme from '86.
Yes! Heck yeah, I knew it.
So there you go.
That's great.
I have to go back and listen now.
It's a
great.
Is the '86 movie good?
It's phenomenal. Yeah, it's pretty great.
I mean, like, you get that 80s cheesiness, but like, I think it's iconic.
That's half the it is. It's iconic. And the character is wonderful. Just don't get too attached to a certain blue and red character.
Yeah.
Because he's not around for much in that film.
Yeah.
And don't be mad at Hot Rod. It's not his fault, okay? He's trying to do the right thing. Gosh, everybody dunks on Hot Rod, but it's not his fault.
As we close up on this, how do we feel about the series going forward? What do we want to see? What do we think is going to happen? Because I mean, I think the next. I don't think they're going to come out with the next Transformers movie that's just a standalone. I think the next movie is going to be the G.I. Joe Transformers movie.
Yeah.
Whether or not we want that, I will see it because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to see it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Like. Mm-hmm. But will the general audiences?
I don't know. It's going to be a lot to grab onto. Like, for the uninitiated, for people who aren't fans, like, they're going to look at G.I. Joe and Transformers and be like, what is this? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I feel like if you're a fan, you might get invested in it. But if you're not, you're just going to be lost.
Yeah. I mean, the laziest but biggest return on investment, I think, and I don't like this idea, okay? So nobody get mad at me. If they bring back The Rock for G.I. Joe Retaliation and they continue from where that left off, and The Rock is enough like G.I. Joe power to restart that universe and Transformers, I think people would pay money to see The Rock in a G.I. Joe Transformers movie. I'm not saying that would be my choice. I'm not saying, I don't know. I think
it wouldn't be good, but it would get butts and seats.
It would get butts and seats.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I think I would cry if that happened. The G.I. Joe Retaliation was not a good film. The best part of that film is Cobra Commander. And I think if people remember G.I. Joe Retaliation, I don't think The Rock can save G.I. Joe.
Okay.
Like, I don't think he has the star. Like, I know he's a star, but I don't think.
I'm tired.
I don't even think his star power would bring that in.
I mean, after Black Adam, I don't think people really care for The Rock anymore.
Yeah. Understandable.
So.
Well, that's why, like, spoiler alert for Fast X, it ends with a post-credit scene with The Rock coming back. So, like, this whole time, The Rock has said he doesn't want to work with Vin Diesel anymore. But, like, he doesn't have too many options anymore for big franchises because I think he's notoriously hard to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
So, like, I don't know. But I think he would slum it for another G.I. Joe. I think he's getting to that point in his career.
Anything for a paycheck.
Basically.
Yeah.
But like
Vulcan Blue, just gotta say the joke. The hierarchy of the Transformers universe is about to change.
Yep.
It's a good one. But sorry, where do you guys think it's gonna go?
I mean, as much as I really don't want a G.I. Joe thing so soon, I feel like that could be next. But we are getting the animated Transformers movie, which I am excited for, especially because like it's the origin of Optimus Prime. So, I'm hyped for that. But for this franchise, I'm really simple. Just give me a movie of them on Cybertron and like a big battle in their G1 form. I'd be very happy with that. I think every Transformers fan would be happy with that. Just seeing everyone in their G1 form on Cybertron.
Yeah. I mean, that would fit in with what I want, which is more humanized Transformers. Because if you take the humans out of it, the Transformers have to have personalities.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely.
If you do that, they're on Cybertron, they're more humanized. I think it would sell for like the best Transformers movie. But like, like I said before, I don't want another military takes over Transformers and it's no longer Transformers movie. Like,
Yeah. I mean, the first and third Transformers movies might as well have been G.I. Joe Transformers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's accurate.
Basically.
Nest was essentially G.I. Joe.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then even Cemetery Wind in Age of Extinction was kind of like a split government faction. You know, like they weren't beholden to the government, but they worked for the government.
Right.
We're
strictly off the books.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they always say something like that, right?
Yeah, they're like the CIA. Like, yeah, we're totally part of the government. We're gonna do what we want, but we're part of the government.
Right.
Yeah. That's weird, man.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, you guys loved this movie, and I'm foreseeing. I mean, so like 52% of Rotten Tomatoes, but then 91% audience score, right? So like the audiences seem to love it. I don't know what the box office revenue is going to be this week, but I think it's the number one movie in the box office right now. Beat Across the Spider-Verse just for this weekend. But mostly, like, opening weekends tend to be big, right? It depends on what the drop-off is into the second weekend. Across the Spider-Verse is doing really well. It's continuing to be, like, sold out. So whether Transformers will keep number one the next weekend, personally, I foresee Across the Spider-Verse bumping back up to number one. But then again, Flash comes out next weekend. So it's going to be a three-way fight next weekend. The question is it going to be Flash, Transformers, Across the Spider-Verse, or Flash, Across the Spider-Verse, Transformers for next weekend?
I don't know. It might be like the latter. I think Transformers probably going to be at the bottom.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
sorry,
like
go ahead.
Said, with opening box offices, it's just going to get bumped. That's how it goes.
Yeah. Especially, if you look at the history of the Transformers franchise, it tends to not do so well later on. People don't find it like memorable like they do with the original Transformers movies, like the first two or first three at least. So it's gonna end up on the bottom, but hey, it is what it is. That's how it happens after opening weekend. And you have so many movies coming out this year. So
there are so
you have two movies on the same day coming out next month. So I already got my Oppenheimer tickets. I'm just waiting for Barbie to come out now.
Oh yeah, Oppenheimer and Barbie.
Yeah.
Oh, Flash and Elemental both come out next week.
Oh yeah.
Is anyone gonna see Elemental?
I'm gonna see it.
Is that the thing anyone wants to see?
It's one of those where I'll wait for it. So
I'm gonna take my mom. I can take my mom to see Elemental, but she's not gonna be interested in the Flash.
Understandable.
So it's kind of like, and I'm sure there are kids like that will. I mean, families might rather see Elemental than the Flash.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
It's a very specific thing, but I'm gonna see both because I got AMC A-list. Shout out to those. Regal has a thing like that too. So whatever you got around you, sign up for
that. I have Cinemark.
Okay, Cinemark. Yeah. I have all three around me anyway, so I could take
the AMC near me doesn't have IMAX, which sucks.
Oh.
So that's why I go to Cinemark. And somebody actually stole my free credit. Somebody hacked my Cinemark account, stole my free credit for like a ticket because I get a free credit every month. But I got it back.
Did you see something good?
No, he saw the Boogeyman. This was in Oklahoma.
Oh.
Somebody in Oklahoma saw the Boogeyman.
Wonderful. Thanks, man.
They really wanted to see that movie.
Like if you would have saw Spider-Verse, I'd have been like, all right, understandable.
Yeah.
You saw the Boogeyman.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I want to thank you guys so much for coming on the show and taking time out of your Sunday to be here to talk with me, to see the movie, this weekend and talk with me about this. Before we get going though, I want to know where we can find you online. What do you got coming up? If there's anything you want to plug, Ryan, I'll let you go first. Where can we find you?
Yeah, so at Neon Dawn Multimedia is where I post all my graphic designs, my photography. Other than that, it's pretty much all I do. That's what I do in my free time. So if you want to see what I do, that's where you can find me.
You got anything big coming up?
No, a couple of photo gigs. Always designing stuff, constantly designing stuff. But it is summertime, and my day job requires that I dedicate most of my mornings to that.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to be a little slow, but keep an eye out. Always good stuff coming out.
All right. Cool. Stefania, where can we find you online? What do you got coming up?
You can find me on Instagram, which is pretty big right now. At Stefania_Sassano. And then I also have a link in my bio. You can follow me on my other social medias through there. Coming up, I have a lot of cons planned up. So there is one near me, and then I have Rhode Island in November. I have New York Comic Con in October.
Okay.
So I'm prepping for that.
To New York?
Yeah, New York Comic Con. Yeah.
I'm thinking about it.
I applied for the creator badge and I got it. So
yeah, of course you would. I mean, yeah, of course you would get a creator badge.
I was actually really shocked for being New York Comic Con, but I did get the creator badge for Emerald City. So that's how I went earlier in March. Yeah. But yeah, that one I'm very excited for because it'll be my first time going to New York Comic Con. Nice. And I have some new cosplays coming up, so
looking forward to it. You're not going to San Diego Comic Con, are you, Stefania?
No, I'm not going.
Stefania, they have the Hellfire Gala.
I know. Don't remind me. I'm gonna be depressed that whole weekend. So
I know. I got tickets, so I'm like, I'm gonna put together a fantastical outfit. So I'm trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. So I'm sorry.
I'm excited. I know. I'll be online lurking and seeing all the cosplays. I'm excited to see what it looks like though. So
yeah, we'll see. But yes, both of you guys do great work, and I'm so glad that you guys are here on the show. Shout out to the official Megs who was on our YouTube earlier, Vulcan Blue and Mr. Plow. I'm not sure who else was here earlier. Gamer Geek Kier was here, and Byron Fyron was here also on Twitch. So thank you guys so much for taking the time out of your time to watch and or listen. For anyone out there who is watching us live, you're watching us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. Or if you listen to the podcast, it's wherever you get your podcasts from. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher. Wherever you guys are watching, wherever you guys are listening, please like, comment, subscribe, do that thing. Write a 5-star review. You don't have to write a review. Just click 5 stars. Give us some rankings. That's what we're trying to boost right now is like all our thing. Vulcan Blue says, can you tell Steph that I'm a big fan? So Steph, Vulcan Blue's a big fan.
I'm a big fan of Vulcan Blue.
There we go. There we go. So wherever you guys are at, like, comment, subscribe, write a review, give us some stars, do your thing. Let us know you're out there, because sometimes there are people who listen to this show that I never know. And I'm like, let us know you're out there. If you've stuck this long listening to this, let us know you're out there. If you are on social media, we got a TikTok and an Instagram at The Keeg Show. We're pretty much everywhere at The Keeg Show or /The Keeg Show. So TikTok and Instagram are our biggest ones. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, all that jazz. Pun not intended, but now it is for this Transformers episode. R.I.P. Jazz. TikTok and Instagram at The Keeg Show. Those are big ones. If you want to donate to The Keeg, you can go to our Patreon at patreon.com/The Keeg Show as well. This show specifically is the Keeg Talks, and we do a different geek topic every geek week. But we also got Comic Talk, which is every Thursdays, where we talk about that week's new releases of comics. And then we also have the Secret Invasion after show that is coming out for the new Marvel Disney Plus show. So we're doing a Wednesday night kind of review after show kind of thing for each of those episodes. So stay tuned for that. There's a lot of stuff coming up. I'm really excited. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys so much for being on this show. Once again, I am your host, Dimithri Perera, and this has been the Keeg Talks, Transformers, Rise of the Beasts. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.